Hello, Colonial sports fans. I'm Savannah Gajda, and welcome to our second episode of Unstoppable. Celeste and I are back from our Halloween movie marathon, and we are stoked to get into all things GW sports with you all.
Absolutely. I'm Celeste Noraian. We've got a lot of exciting news in Buff and Blue sports. We have Shaina Stein giving us an in-depth rundown of women's cross country and an interview with GW men's basketball head coach Jamion Christian. Stay tuned. Men's water polo added a few wins to their record with a 1-point win against Mount St. Mary's and Wagner in the Mid-Atlantic Water Polo Conference. At the Mount, Antonin Kralia led the way with 3 goals, and Andrea Sekulic, Victor Jovanic, and Nick Schroeder each scored 2 goals for the Buff and Blue. GW lost to Navy in overtime on November 4th. They are one of the toughest teams in the conference behind number 17 ranked Fordham with an 8-0 winning record. Goalkeeper Luca Castarini set a program single-game record with 24 saves in their overtime game against Navy. Navy has a 5-1 conference record after a loss against the Rams. GW faces Fordham and Navy one last time in their conference. They might be tough, but after a close matchup against Navy, I still have some hope for the Buff and Blue. They have a powerful offense and a strong goalkeeper. I think they'll find a lot of success.
Ready, set, spike. Last time you saw us, the women's volleyball team was on a 16-game losing streak, having not won a single match. I'm happy to tell all you GW sports fans that the Colonials finally won 2 matches against Rhode Island and George Mason respectively. The team now stands at 2-21 overall and 2-10 in A10 play. Despite the low winning record, the Colonials can use this season as a learning experience. They trail significantly in various categories compared to their opponents. GW totals 759 kills so far this season, whereas opposing teams average 1,114 kills. The same goes for assists, which GW has had 669 of this season, compared to other schools they have played, which average 1,009 assists thus far. On the bright side, we see a lot of hope in freshman Salim Yohannes, who has been a consistent leader on the stats board, with 199.5 points and 180 kills so far this season. She'll surely play a crucial role again next year. With 5 more A10 matchups this season, as well as the A10 Championship Tournament coming up, we hope to see the Colonials end this season on a high spike.
Women's soccer wrapped up their season against Davidson at home in a tied game of 1-1 in double overtime. The team did not make it to the first round of A10s, but 2 women received honors in the A10 conference. Grad student and 3-year captain for GW, Kelly Amador, had a strong season, leading the team with 14 points and tying the team lead in goals with 5. She was also named A10 Offensive Player of the Week and earned all-conference second-team honors. First-year standout Alicia Window was awarded on the A10 rookie team and had one of the best offensive seasons in GW history. Her 5 goals tied the team lead and were the most goals scored for a first year since 2015. And she made history, scoring 12 seconds into a game. After adding 11 newcomers, GW was just getting into their groove. I know there's still a lot of unseen talent, so we all have to stay tuned for next season.
Men's soccer closed out their season with a 5-10-2 overall record and a 3-4-1 record in the A10. The team did not clinch a berth to the A10 finals, which they were looking to compete in as last year's runner-ups. Nonetheless, the Colonials put on a show for their season finale. The superstar forward Oscar Haynes-Brown netted all 4 goals against St. Bonaventure, including the golden goal in the 92nd minute to give the Colonials the edge to win the game. Haynes-Brown is only the 3rd student athlete to score 4 goals in a D1 contest nationwide this season. His excellent performance even brought in recognition from United Soccer Coaches, which named Haynes-Brown the National Player of the Week. The team has big shoes to fill next season as 7 players graduate, including Haynes-Brown, an offensive powerhouse, and Joshua Urasitz, a key defensive leader.
In the final 2 regular season meets, men's cross country ran into the A10 championship with 6 runners setting personal records. The men were ranked 11th, tying their highest regional ranking for the 4th time. At the A10 championship, the men finished 7th, only 3 points behind Davidson. Several runners had strong finishes, and new personal records were set by Kevin Conlon, Thomas Sand, and Ryan Folks. James Glockenmeyer also earned all conference honors and had a 5th place finish with a time of 24:56.6. He is GW's highest male finisher since Ryan Tucker finished 3rd in 2015, making him the 4th runner to place in the top 5 during an A10 championship. Keep it up, GW. Let's see what else is left in the tank for the Buff and Blue.
Men's golf is putting away its caddies as they wrap up their fall slate. The team did not see its strongest performances when they placed 10th of 13 at the Phoenix Invitational against Elan and 13th of 15 at the Grandover Collegiate against UNC Greensboro. Hugo Ribou led GW for both tournaments, tying for 19th overall at the 2-day Phoenix Invitational and tying for 33rd overall at the Grandover Collegiate. Ribou also finished with a season-best 2 under par, shooting .211 at the Phoenix Invitational, as well as 5 birdies and a 4 under par, shooting .67 in the second round of day 1 of the tournament. Luis Preciado had a highlight-worthy performance as well, tying for 33rd overall at the Phoenix Invitational and finishing with a 1 over par, shooting .214. Preciado shot at par and 4 under par in the first 2 rounds. Overall, the team has to make a vast amount of improvements in order to better its performance in the future.
Women's swimming and diving dominated Old Dominion in a 2-day meet. The women showcased their depth with 8 different swimmers claiming individual events and had all 4 relays place first. Rookie Mariah Freitas was a double winner, taking both butterfly races. Becca Brown and Marley Rickert were part of all 4 relay wins. Both had individual wins as well. Other individual winners included Andrea Moussier, Erin McCarthan, Carly Perry, and Andrea Ho. Rookie Julia Knox's winning time of 4 minutes and 28.72 seconds in the 400 IM added her to the program's all-time top list and number 7. GW women's swimming and diving are making moves in the pool, and it's only the beginning.
And now, onto the men's swimming and diving team. The Colonials swept the pool against Old Dominion University. The men's 200-yard freestyle relay team, consisting of Karol Młynarczyk, Dylan Koo, Georgia Matic, and Tyler Kawakami, set a pool record with a winning time of 1 minute and 23.12 seconds. Senior veteran from Czech Republic Marek Oshina ranked 18th among Division I swimmers this year with his strong performance in the 400-meter individual medley. Oshina's first-place winning times in 4 individual races all ranked among the top 75 nationally. In particular, his 200-meter back time of 1 minute and 49.98 seconds placed him on the Colonials' all-time top 10 list. Oshina posted conference best times in 7 different events so far this season. We also want to highlight freshman Bodie Ringenbach, who received A10 Rookie of the Week honors as a result of his 200-meter breaststroke victory against the Monarchs. The Colonials figured out their deficiencies from their season opener loss to Virginia Tech and truly stepped up their swimming and diving game. We hope to see more of this winning energy as the season progresses.
Women's basketball starts their season against American, and with a new coaching staff and more athletes. After a history-making NCAA run at Stony Brook, head coach Caroline McCombs has worked hard to enhance the Buff and Blue roster and bring excellence to the court. McCombs added 10 newcomers, which was over half of the team's roster. GW is going up against some pretty big teams this season, like Minnesota and Virginia, which will put the new team to the test. Each player brings a lot of talent, and I think this is going to be a historical season for GW. Hail to the Buff, hail to the Blue. I'm pumped for game day.
Okay, GW sports fans, it's time for Unstoppable's top 3 plays. In 3rd place, we have Marek Oshina's swift performance in the 200-meter backstroke against Old Dominion University. This win helped Oshina land his first A10 Performer of the Week honors. Oshina ranks in the national top 50 of the 200-meter backstroke.
Ranking 2nd is Oscar Haynes Brown's 4 goals in the season's final matchup against St. Bonaventure. With less than 2 minutes into overtime, Haynes Brown had a close game-winner shot off a throw-in.
All right, cue the drum roll. First place goes to the women's cross-country team. The Colonials claimed their first ever Atlantic 10 title in a historical performance at the A10 Championship. It's no surprise that the team received Colonial of the Week honors. This is a huge achievement for the program, and they deserve a big round of applause. The trophies are coming back to Foggy Bottom.
Those were our top 3 plays, and next we have Hot Takes with Richie Wright.
Going, gone! The women's cross-country team made program history, winning their first ever A10 championship. The team finished the season just as strong as they started it, keeping up their victorious streak this fall. The Colonials won the championship with 50 points, 25 points better than runner-up Dayton. 4 GW runners had all conference honors, another accomplishment for the books. Margaret Coogan paced the Colonials, finishing in the top 5 of a championship race for the 3rd consecutive year. She ran the 3rd fastest women's 5K time in program history and finished 2nd in the A10 championship. Coogan joins program legends like Bridget Quenzer, Megan Hogan, and Suzanne Danheim as the 4th racer in program history to place 2nd in the A10 championship. Joining us to give us more insight on the women's cross-country team is Unstoppable's finest, Shaina Stein.
Thank you, Savannah. I'm so glad to be in the studio today to talk about the women's cross-country team. They did absolutely amazing this year. For the first time in Colonial history, the women's team took home the A10 championship title, which is amazing. Now, in their last race at UVA, the women finished 3rd overall and 1st in the A10s, which set them up really well for their championship race. And I'd also like to mention that 4 players ran new personal best times, and that definitely gave them a lot of confidence for the finals. And to clinch the championship title, as you mentioned, the Colonials earned 50 points overall, which was like a landslide compared to what the other teams got.
Yeah, their performance was outstanding. Who were some key players that really stood out in these races?
Yeah, so there was about 3 key players who finished with, top 10 titles. So there's graduate students Perry Pavicic and Catherine Nohilly, along with freshman Olivia Siftestad, and those were some pretty outstanding performances.
Margaret Coogan played a huge role in the last race. Can you talk a little bit more about her performance and how it impacted this team?
Yeah, so Margaret Coogan has been amazing this season, and not only did she lead the Colonials to their win this past Saturday, with an amazing time of 17 minutes and 31.7 seconds in the 5K, but she's also broken several personal records this past year. She even set a GW all-time record back in May for the outdoor 3,000-meter steeplechase. And additionally, she came in 1st place overall for their September race at Mount St. Mary's.
I definitely agree with that, Shaina. I also want to point out Margaret Coogan and Catherine Nohilly came back from their 4 years of undergrad to come back for their grad year just to, also to race, and they're really key runners. And also Perry Pavicic came back for a grad year from Rider University, and Olivia Siftestad is a freshman, and all 4 of them had all-conference honors. And 3 racers finished in the top 15 at A10s, which is a strong start to be successful at the NCAA Mid-Atlantic Regionals.
Yeah, the grad leadership on this team is incredible. Between Julia Dempsey, Margaret Coogan, and Perry Pavicic, they have so much talent, but then there's also freshmen like Olivia Siftestad, who has been great and setting personal records for herself as well.
I think it's amazing that as a freshman, she's able to hold her own and perform at the top along with the grad students who have been doing this for over 4 years. So, props to her for making it in that top 3 spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent in all the grades on this team. And now they have some tough meets coming up. Shaina, can you talk a little bit more about those?
If the Colonials' performance so far is any indication of how the rest of their season will go, I'm super confident that they'll be able to take home some really good finishes and maybe even take home the whole title because they've been doing super amazing. Winning the A10s is not an easy feat, and that just proves that they're ready for any further competition.
Absolutely. Shaina, thank you so much for joining us today. Looking ahead, the team will continue competition in November at 3 tournaments, including the NCAA Mid-Atlantic Regional and the NCAA Championships. We wish them all the best to race high and make more history for GW.
Hello, Unstoppable fans. It's time for Hot Takes. I'm your host, Richie Wright, and I'll be asking a series of questions to our 2 anchors that hopefully lead to a heated debate for your entertainment. First up for contention, what do you make of the Chiefs' season this year, and can they bounce back from a slow start? Savannah, I'll start with you.
All right. So I think, personally, that there are stronger teams in the race this season. It's a new season. The Buffalo Bills are on the come up, and very rarely do we see a team win the Super Bowl 2 years in a row. We haven't seen it since the Patriots in 2004 and 2005 when Tom Brady was, just starting out, early in his prime. And I don't think that Patrick Mahomes has that energy, I'll be honest with you. They barely beat the Giants last weekend. As a Giants fan, I have to admit, you should beat the Giants if you're planning on being in the Super Bowl. They barely won. They won by a field goal. That should not have happened. Also, they need to brush up on defense. I'm very familiar with Steve Spagnuolo, their defensive coordinator. He won 2 Super Bowls with the Giants. He should be harsher on the team because their defense is a mess right now. Patrick Mahomes is a mess right now, fumbling, whatnot. And the Chiefs don't have an easy schedule ahead of them. If you look at it, they're the only team in the NFL right now that has opponents with no losing records coming up. So they have some good opponents ahead of them, the Packers, and it's possible they could get lucky with a wild card, but I don't think they're going to win the division. I think that the Raiders are going to take it, but if they do get lucky with a wild card, at that point it's all up in the air. But I think in terms of logistics, they don't have a shot right now.
Savannah, I think you make some good points, and that the Chiefs haven't had a great season so far and not a good defense, but all 4 teams in the division have at least 4 wins right now, which means the division crown is still very much in reach for the Chiefs. And the Chiefs are technically only 1 game back from almost every other team ahead of them for the number 1 seed in the conference. So although they didn't have a great game in the Super Bowl against the Bucs, we got to give them credit for making it into the Super Bowl. And so I think that they'll work out the kinks in the system and go on a good run that sets them for the number 1 seed.
Those are some good arguments by both of you, but I think I have to agree with Savannah on this one that, especially looking at their schedule ahead, there's no easy games. The Packers up next, they have Raiders another time, the Cowboys, all teams that are on the up and coming that I think are really teams that the Chiefs shouldn't have worried about heading into the season, but we're looking at those teams as major threats. And honestly, the Chiefs are underdogs in those matchups, and I think they're 500 right now. I think they'll be lucky if they're 500 at the end of the season. So Savannah, I'm giving this one to you.
Absolutely. The curse of the Super Bowl.
Yes. Second, who do you see as the front runners in the MVP race in the NFL this year and why? Celeste, I'll go with you this time.
I'd say Kyler Murray, the QB for the Arizona Cardinals, and Tom Brady for Tampa Bay. And he's a 7-time Super Bowl champion. And the man turned 44 this year, but he's still kicking, not slowing down, So his commitment to his physical health, his nutrition, and his strict training regimen, I think that he's going to have a lot of success. And with Kyler Murray, he's got quick throws and paid off in the form of 5-0 score for the Cardinals wins. And he's the 3rd player in the NFL history with 1,500 passing yards and a 75% completion percentage in the first 5 games of a season. So on top of that, he has the Cardinals sitting atop a powerful NFC West.
All right, Kyler Murray, solid. But I gotta say, if you had asked me this question a week ago, I would have said Derrick Henry, no doubt about it. But now with the injury, obviously that's not happening. Historically, though, MVP has usually been a QB. Last time it was not a QB, it was Adrian Peterson, running back in 2012. That was 9 years ago. So you're looking at it now, I see 3 scenarios ahead of us. The first one is Josh Allen. Whoever wins the Super Bowl will most likely be MVP. I think that the Buffalo Bills have a really good shot at winning the Super Bowl, and Josh Allen has been doing great this season. In the last 7 games, he's already had almost 2,000 yards. If he can hit that 4,000-yard mark, I think he's a good contender for the MVP trophy. Scenario number 2, and I agree, if Brady retires this season, if for whatever reason he decides this is it, I'm done, they're going to give him the MVP. Just for the sole purpose of being Tom Brady, they're going to give him that. Or Scenario number 3, a two-peat from Aaron Rodgers. He's doing good. The Packers are 7-1 right now. If they can keep that up, he's definitely a contender as well.
Those are some good picks, I think, Savannah. But you gave me 3 scenarios, and I just wanted like one front runner. So I feel like Celeste, she gave me at least one person. I'm not sure Kyler is the person that's going to get it, but you made a convincing argument about he was leading them up. They were undefeated the longest in the NFL. So I feel like that has a lot of weight in this debate. We can see at the second half of the season if he falls apart or not, but I think he's definitely someone that you have to look out for in this debate, and he's definitely in the top 5, top 3 at that. So Celeste, I'll give this to you.
Thank you.
Now moving on into the Thanksgiving theme of this episode, what is the best side dish that you've ever had at your Thanksgiving dinner? Savannah, I'll bounce it back to you.
Okay, Thanksgiving dinner. I have to shout out my whole family here. My mom makes really good gravy. Thank you, Mom. My sister makes very good creamed spinach. It's better than Boston Market, I promise you that. And my dad makes the best sweet potato with extra marshmallows. So it's going to be the sweet potatoes. We have a lot of great family traditions and memories of making the sweet potatoes together, and he always comes out on top with that. It's always a Thanksgiving favorite. So it's going to be the sweet potatoes with extra marshmallows.
Well, I'd say it'd have to be corn casserole in my family. You know, I don't know if that's like a Midwestern thing, like to have casserole, but I guess we just love our corn in Illinois, and it's just good corn, sour cream, a lot of butter. My family also makes a lot of good food, but definitely corn casserole is the winner for me.
Don't think I've ever had corn casserole in my life.
I'll make it for you.
I think I'm okay. I'll pass.
Don't worry, I got you, Richie.
Yeah, I have to say that for the sweet potato one, I usually don't eat sweet potatoes except around Thanksgiving, and that's usually because I also have a relative that makes it with the marshmallows, and it's so good. So it's not something I eat around the year, but for Thanksgiving, I think the sweet potatoes and adding the marshmallows in definitely is a really good side dish. Sorry to the casserole option, but sweet potatoes and marshmallows sounds so much better. So I'll give that one.
We'll exchange recipes.
Yeah, there we go. So I'll give that one to you,
All right.
Savannah.
Awesome.
So finally, we have, for our final hot take, if you could invite any 2 athletes to your Thanksgiving dinner, who would you pick and why would you pick them? Celeste, we'll start with you.
I'd say Serena Williams and LeBron James. So I've played tennis when I was really little. I even had Serena and Venus on my tennis racket. And I've just grown up watching her play. She's a strong woman, 23 Grand Slam singles, the most of any player in the open era and second most of all time. And LeBron James also, I've grown up watching him play. He's an exceptional athlete and person. He always just gives back to the community. So I would like to have both of them, just have some fun conversations, and maybe I'd learn some things too.
All right, I respect it. I gotta say, from a football standpoint, Tom Brady and Eli Manning. I know Isabelle behind the scenes is not crazy about that one, but as a diehard Giants fan, grew up a Giants fan, this would be a way for Eli and I to tease Tom a bit. So I'd make it, royal blue themed for Big Blue. I'd bring out the Vince Lombardi trophies. On the napkins, I'd write 17-14, 21-17, the scores of those Super Bowls when, that's the only time Tom Brady ever lost in the Super Bowl was to Eli Manning, twice, may I add. So, it'd be a nice little opportunity for us to rub it in his face, and I'm sure then he'd just bring out his 7 rings and laugh right back at us. But it's fine. I think it'd be great. And then from a basketball standpoint, I think Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley. I love watching Inside the NBA on TNT. They are hilarious, and I just feel like if I sat with them at a table, it'd be the best conversation. They would make so many jokes. They'd be so fun to be around.
Those are really good options. I wasn't expecting some of those, but I have to say, Celeste, when you brought up Serena Williams, I'm a big tennis fan, so that really stuck out to me, the fact that you picked someone. I think Serena's one of the greatest tennis players, men or women, of all time. But also, Savannah, the way Eli and Tom, that would be a really interesting dinner, I think, if you had both of them with you.
I agree.
I think there'd be a lot of banter back and forth. I mean, I think they still like each other, but This is a tough one, but I think, Celeste, the fact that you brought in Serena, I'm a little biased for tennis, so I'll give this one to you. So we're tied at 2 apiece for the hot takes. That means we have to head into a tiebreaker question. Savannah, I'll start with you. So for traveling for the holidays, Thanksgiving or whatever, do you prefer going somewhere warmer or somewhere colder?
I gotta say, I am not a fan of the cold. Even though I grew up in New Jersey, I can't stand the cold. Even today, I was wearing my big winter puffer jacket, so I'm just not ready for like 20-degree weather. So I would probably go somewhere warm, somewhere tropical, like maybe Cancun, lay on the beach, drink a little pina colada. But also, I would really like to go to Poland for the holidays to visit my babcia and spend the holidays with her.
I have to say, since I'm from the Midwest, I like the cold. It just like reminds me of home, and like it doesn't really feel like a holiday if I'm just like, if there's not snow on the ground for Christmas or like anything like that. But I also would visit my grandpa in Florida, and because I do like the warmth, but it's just not the same if I'm not like wearing a big winter coat in the snow. And so yeah, I like the cold better.
Okay.
Fair points, fair points. I think, personally, the cold does go with the holidays, but I don't know. For me, I think when you're in the winter months for the holidays, it's nice to escape that cold and go somewhere warm. Savannah, being on the beach, drinking whatever you have. I think I think that is more ideal during this time of year. So, Savannah, I'll give it to you for the tiebreaker and the hot takes.
Up next, Savannah sits down with GW men's basketball head coach Jamion Christian.
The temperature is dropping, leaves are changing color, and basketball is back. The GW men's basketball team is off to an electrifying start after a 93-51 win against Hood College in this season's exhibition game. Joining us in the studio today is head coach of the GW men's basketball team, Coach Jamion Christian. Coach, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me on. I always love being here.
Of course. I can't believe it's been almost 2 years since the last time you were in the studio with us.
I know. Every time I come up here, I'm always amazed at how it looks. And I'm amazed at the people that are working in front of the camera and behind the camera, and how much they're learning every time I come in here. It's great.
Oh, yeah. We've got a great crew. It takes a whole village. So, Coach, can you tell me what it was like navigating through the challenges of COVID-19 last year and having such a short season of only 17 games?
Yeah, it was a tough year, but it was a tough year for everyone. And I think that's something that, in sport, we kind of over-dramatize how hard a year it was. But, when you look around the country, there are a lot of people that are struggling. There are people that lost their jobs, people that lost lives, people that have illnesses that will remain after COVID for a long period of time. So, we're really fortunate and have a high level of gratitude for being able to come back and perform at the level that we're able to. We kind of get a reprieve from a year ago. And, last year's results are not true results because of all the things that are going on in the world and all the things that are going on in our city. But we're excited about having a chance to step back on the floor and kind of just redeem ourselves and to show the world everything we've been doing to work on. And, we're excited for that opportunity.
Yeah. And with this being your third year with GW already, time has flown by. How has your recruiting strategy and game plan changed since you first arrived in Foggy Bottom?
I wouldn't say that it's changed as much as we've just really stuck to a plan. And that's something we really, we felt like when we came in here, we know the A-10's a great league. We always understand that. Being in the basketball circles, we know the kind of talent that you need in this league. I don't think we had an preseason all-conference player since 2016. So we recognize that we need to have, enough agility on the roster to bring in high-level players that also fit GW and have the right kind of character. So our plan at the beginning was always to make sure we do a great job in the first year of identifying the players that we had on the roster and believing in them and trying to see how far we can help those guys grow. But we had a big-time plan on bringing in transfers. When you look at the history of GW basketball, it's had so many great transfers through the last 10 or 15 years. So that was always a big part of our plan. And, last year, the NCAA allowed transfer to play right away with the one-time waiver. So that sped up our process a little bit. But, we were trying to have enough agility on the roster where we had availability for those kind of players. And, excited about the opportunity to have those guys with us now.
Yeah, of course. And with 10 newcomers on the team, how are you managing every player's individual expectations?
Well, it's just about setting a standard. They have an expectation for themselves as players. I have an expectation for them as a coach. We're working simultaneously to try to be the best that we can. And, I want those guys to have as much success as they can. I want our team to have as much success as they can. So we're all working together. And, what we really try to do in our recruiting is just to evaluate the person and evaluate their ability to grow and learn. I feel like we've done a great job of that. It's challenging because your recruiting cycle for a transfer is different than for a high school kid. A high school kid you're recruiting starting as maybe a sophomore and junior as you start to get to know them. A transfer, you may have to try to create that knowledge of a person over three or 4 weeks, and it goes really fast. So we just try to do a great job of asking a lot of questions, really digging into the guys' backgrounds. And I love the group of guys we were able to bring in here. They really fit GW. They really fit what we're trying to do. They were excited about building a winner here in Washington, D.C., which is really important because sometimes you can find a transfer and they just want to play and then move on. But we had guys that really wanted to build a legacy where they were coming next, and so we're really fortunate to have that.
Yeah, that's a great thing to have. And with so many new faces, how are you working on the growth and connectivity of the team?
Yeah, well, as you know, Savannah, connection's our gift, and that's our gift to the world. And we want people to come into the Smith Center and to see us play and see how connected we are as a group so that they feel connected, go out in their communities and be inspired to do more in their communities. So that's always been a major focus for us. And, we've just tried to make sure we're identifying the guys and doing it the right way. We got here, for the first, we get 10 weeks of summer school, 11 weeks of summer school basically, and for the first 2 weeks we didn't even play any basketball. We didn't do any organized basketball with them. We just wanted to really focus on our way of life and the culture that we're trying to build here, and so those guys can understand how we treat each other, how we interact, how we love one another, and how we're going to respond to adversity. And I felt like that really got us off to a great start because most of these guys are coming from programs that all they cared about was basketball. And I'm really about the inner person. I'm really about them being connected as a unit, as a team. And so it was good to be able to start it off that way, having that amount of time. Last year with COVID, we didn't get our guys back here until almost September, which was challenging. And this year, having our guys back here in late May, we could really spend a lot of time on individual development and learning opportunities.
Yeah. And Coach, what was the inspiration behind practicing with other teams like the GW women's rowing team and the baseball team? What was that like?
Well, I love our community here, and I feel like sometimes as an athlete you can sort of be isolated, and I just don't want our guys to be isolated. We have great championship level teams here, and their experiences are going to help us as we're trying to grow and be connected to our community. And I just thought it was really important to be able to get out there and interact some. And again, we're coming from a year where we were all isolated as individual teams because of COVID, understandably. But coming back, I wanted them to feel the energy of the other student athletes. And I just think that's really important. Our student athletes here are some of the best in the world. Their ability to communicate, their ability to compete ferociously, their ability to go out and change the world, it's really special. And, with 10 newcomers, I wanted them to feel that energy about the community that they're involved in and not to feel separated from it, but to really feel connected to it. And I felt like we really accomplished that through that week.
Yeah, and I saw some great clips from the gymnastics practice. How did your players fare on the balance beams and the high bars?
All right, so she didn't let them get on the balance beam. Margie was concerned about their health on the balance beam, but they did a good job hanging on the high bars and all that. And, I thought Margie, Coach Cunningham did an amazing job of just creating an atmosphere for our guys to be able to compete with alongside their women, and it was a lot of fun. Watching our guys in different environments is important. That's a big part of learning for me, right? Because when we go and play on the road, it's a different environment. So I want to see how they're interacting within their environments when it's something that they don't expect. Every day that we come into practice, they expect how practice is going to be. They have an understanding of it. But when we kind of stepped out with these different teams, they didn't necessarily know exactly what to expect. And I thought it was a great opportunity. So when we got out there with gymnastics, it was pretty unique because none of these things do we ever do. And so I thought they built out a great plan. I love their energy, their passion that they're able to show. And I thought that was important for our team to feel that enthusiasm and then go and attack something new.
Yeah. Do you think we see a possibility of a men's gymnastics team in the future?
I don't know. They won't have basketball guys on there. I'll tell you that. Our guys were too long. Their cores are too big. And so their lack of flexibility really would have hurt us if we would have had a true gymnastics competition that day. But I love their eagerness to try to participate.
Yeah. And Coach, there was a lot of excitement over the summer about the signing of Arizona forward Ira Lee.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with the injury he suffered playing pickup over the summer?
Yeah, I love Ira, and he's a tremendous person as he's working through it. And we want to support all our players, especially as they're working through injuries, and he's definitely working through a major one there. And it was devastating for us because of the injury, because we know what he's done to get to this point. And we're just trying to continue to support him like we do all of our players. Part of the game is our injuries, and that sort of happens. So, as a coach, you don't overreact on it. I do have great faith in our roster. Noel Brown, Hunter Dean, mean, these guys play the same positions in our league, and these guys are really, really talented players. They've really come a long way. So we're just really excited about our roster. I do feel like in year 3 we finally have enough depth that we can continue to make progress and improve. And Aaron's done a great job being a team member. I mean, it could have been really easy for him to not be a great team member through this, and he's been a great teammate, helping coaching up some of the younger guys, helping them understand what they need to do, and that's been refreshing to watch.
Yeah, and how would you say that his role changed from when he was fully healthy to now his current condition?
Yeah, just trying to build a culture where, your value isn't just how many points you score or how many rebounds you're able to get in the game. And, we're still trying to establish that, but it's been great to watch him kind of move into that. And, every day he's in there getting his rehab in and really attacking that, and he's coming to practice and really leaning on guys like Tyler Warner and Hunter Dean and Noel Brown and talking to some of the younger guys that are still trying to figure it out. And he's just doing a great job of sharing his experiences with the team. And I think that's really important. And that's why we wanted to bring in some of these older guys as transfers, because we felt like that was something that was really needed. One of the things that can happen when you bring in a lot of new faces is you do lose a little bit of character of how you win, right? Because usually you're growing that all the time. So we really wanted to identify guys that had that character of how to win and could really share that. It's been great watching him have the ability to share that.
All right, and Coach, you mentioned some specific players right now. Which players' debuts are you most excited for this season?
Oh man, there's so many of these guys. I love all these guys so much and try to coach that way. And, James Bishop, was obviously preseason second team in the A10. I think he's one of the most underrated players maybe in college basketball. His first year, 20 points, 5 assists. I mean, that's really to be second team in the A10, really underrated for him. I love the opportunity that he gets a chance to go out here and show the world. Ricky Lindo played 7 games last year, the only player in the A10 to average a double-double. Wasn't on any of the all-conference teams, which is amazing to me because he was, in his 7 games, he might have been one of the most dominant players. So excited for him to get the opportunity to step out there. Brendan Adams, coming in from UConn, has just been an outstanding team member and outstanding player, and he's got a lot of great basketball ahead of him. And Joe Bam is still coming from Virginia Tech with his energy and enthusiasm, ability to play. And so as you can tell, I'm really excited about a lot of these guys. I feel like they've made the kind of progress they need to make. I feel like we've grown together as a team, which I think is obviously very important. And I don't think one person's growth is more important than another's, because I think we're all growing together. And it's been great to watch this group of guys grow together. And we have a lot of guys that can step up and make plays, and people are going to love watching the freshman Brayon Freeman play because he can make a play out of nothing, and and he's a really integral part of our team. And so I think all the parts kind of fit together, and we need all these parts hitting on the same time for us to be as good as we can be.
Yeah, Coach, what role will Amir Harris play on the team this year? He's had such a long journey to recovery, so now that he's fully healthy, what's that going to be like to have him on the team?
Yeah, Amir's been amazing. The journey that he's been on. Like against Hood, when he got the break, he got a breakaway dunk against Hood. I mean, I swear I almost had a tear in my eye because, just in that moment, I just felt everything that he had gone through, from sitting with him when we first got the news that he was going to have surgery, season-ending surgery my first year here, to the setbacks he had sometimes during rehab, to getting back to where he needed to be, now being out on the floor and being a really dominant defensive player. It's great watching him. In some ways, I think he's better than he's ever been. I think his mind is sharper. I think his ability to make plays are a little bit better as he's more experienced. And one of the best things he's doing is he's leading every single day, not just with his energy, but leading with his voice. He gives us a toughness that's really special. Again, as I kind of label guys, I mean, I think he's as important a guy for us as anything because he's got that winning experience coming from Nebraska. He's got that winning experience playing here. He knows who I am. He knows how I like to operate. So he's really helped us to establish this culture. Him and Miles Galley are the only 2 guys that have been with us the entire time. And so their roles in our team are really important because they're helping establish this thing as we're building it.
Yeah. And now, Coach, final question. Besides winning an A10 championship, what are your long-term goals for this season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't put any limits on our team. I believe in these guys immensely. I've seen these guys come so long in the first few months that we've been working together. I've seen, when I think of our team, I think about the energy that we have and the energy that we're realizing that we have to create positive change within our team. And I just think we're going to be able to take that energy and transfer it onto the floor. And I think that's going to be really scary. When you look at the depth that we have, the wing scoring, the size, the athleticism, when we become really connected, we really love one another, we're going to be a really tough team to play against. And I don't know when that's going to be. I think we'll see. I think early in the year we'll see versions of it. But we just got to keep growing together. And I definitely feel like if we keep growing together, though, it's going to be a special season here in Foggy Bottom.
Yeah, well, thank you, Coach, for joining us today. I am so excited to be back in Smith soon and to see the team grow this season.
I love it. Thanks for having me on. I love being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Coach Christian, for taking the time to join us. Mark your calendars, GW fans. GW men's basketball officially begins their season on Tuesday, November 9th at 8 p.m. in the Smith Center. We hope to see you there, sporting your finest buff and blue gear.
That's all of our GW Sports recap for the day. For more GW exclusive content, be sure to check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter with the handles below.
We hope you have all the corn casserole and sweet potatoes your hearts desire this Thanksgiving. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Unstoppable. As always, raise high.